Traditionally, a story is told in a nice linear manner. It starts with a beginning, continues with a middle, and ends with a conclusion. However, life is a little bit more complex than that. Constantly learning new things for the rest of your life can be a daunting task. Let's see if we could simplify it. Just wanted to let you know that this video has quite a few different chapters. Feel free to follow along, or I've time-stamped every single chapter down below. So with that out of the way, let's get started. To get started, let me tell you a story about myself. I'm a self-taught designer. I studied architecture back at university, but then slowly got into UX design without any background in tech or anything even remotely close to UX. There weren't any university degrees that I could take. There were maybe a couple of different courses online and a couple of different influencers that I followed, a few different books, so I decided to take the learning on my own route. And since then, I've learned how to learn really well on my own, and I've been doing that almost on a daily basis for the past decade and a bit. And based on that, I think I can share a thing or two with you guys that could potentially make your learning journey a little bit simpler as well. In order to tell a story of how to learn anything, perhaps the traditional storytelling methods won't really work over here. Perhaps one might need to start with the end, continue to the beginning, and end with the middle. Confused? Well, let me explain. Let's start with the first fact. Education never stops. The first thing to realize and accept is that things constantly change and evolve, and so should you. New tools come out every day. We get introduced to new and sometimes better techniques that we need to learn. New talent comes out every day, and not only you have to compete with the current talent on the market, and now you have to compete with the new talent that comes out every day as well. To stay relevant, the first thing that you need to take note of, you need to come up with a learning plan that is tailored for you and your lifestyle, something that you could stick to for the long term. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is the I don't have the time to do X theory and misconception. Let's all agree with the fact that time is a constant. We have 24 hours of it every single day. Every single time that you say that you simply just don't have the time to do something, it doesn't mean that you literally don't have the time. It simply means that that specific thing at the moment just doesn't necessarily have priority in your life. If you really want to do something and achieve something, you have to create the time span in order to actually get it done. So to get started, let's simply look at a Monday to Friday schedule. When you subtract the hours from your sleep, your work, your travels, spending time with family and friends, quality time for your self-enjoyment, entertainment and unwinding, and other miscellaneous hours that you spend on a daily basis doing other stuff, if you're lucky, you'll be left over with between 1 to 2 hours a day. Managing that 1 to 2 hour window correctly becomes super vital into your self-improvement and self-development activities. Now, let's also not forget about the weekends. There is definitely more time available during these 2 days. Even if you want to enjoy your weekends and make plans and enjoy your life, there is definitely 4 to 5 hours on each day that you could potentially dedicate into activities like self-improvement and learning. Now that we understand the importance of time and planning, let's talk about becoming an expert in your craft. Now, we can all agree with the simple fact that in order to become good at anything, you need to start with the basics and then expand your knowledge from there. A super simple concept, right? Well, not really. Let me explain. Let's take a look at the typical learning framework. To simplify the matter, first you identify what you want to learn, then you research and find materials in which you can learn from. Then you study the materials for a while until you feel comfortable with that particular topic. You then repeat the process with the next topic that you're interested in. That seems simple enough. So where's the problem over here? Well, first let's discuss the number of materials that's out there that's trying to capture your attention. All the different books, tutorials, articles, podcasts. It can get overwhelming. You might have been stuck with a single book or tutorial, and then there's all of these other stuff out there that's trying to capture your attention. You then do the next thing that's slightly different from the first one, but it's telling the same thing. And you continuously do that, and you get stuck in this thing called a tutorial hell. This is where you constantly watch or read books and tutorials one after another. As I mentioned before, they tell the same thing with a slightly different example, but then you're getting a self-satisfaction that you're starting to learn just a little bit more about that topic, and you might even learn a few new things about that topic. But then once you're done with that tutorial or book, a few days goes by, or a few weeks or a few months, and you feel like that you've forgotten everything that you studied before. So why is that? Well, following this process, we never actually start learning anything in particular. In the middle of getting anchored down by which books or tutorial we go through, we always miss the main point over here, that all of them just basically try to give you the exact same concept, the basics of something, and that's basically all you need to get started in a topic. The only time that I actually recommend you picking up a different tutorial or book to follow is if you watched a tutorial and you didn't get it, then I recommend for you to go and pick something else out there that might be a little bit more helpful to you. In my opinion, learning the basics of something and just getting started in whatever that you're trying to do is a lot more powerful than just continuously going through a tutorial or a book one after another. So in order to learn properly in that matter, in my opinion, there are two separate steps that you could take to help you out there. Step 1, starting with the end. So let me explain what I mean by starting with the end. I'm going to go ahead and make the argument that once you know the basics of something, you can only get good at it by keep practicing the exact same thing and just learning from your mistakes. Now, in order to practice what you've just learned, we really need to take a step backwards and plan out what's coming up next in your life or in your career or at work. So for example, you might have a project coming up that needs a deep dive into UI interactions, and you've been wanting to learn After Effects or Framer for the longest time. So then you might look at yourself and just say that, well, this is the good opportunity for you to start learning about After Effects or Framer. What I'm trying to say is that timing your education is super vital in order to make sure that you're not wasting your time learning things that you have no use for in the near future. Choose topics to learn that align really well with your coming up future with work, studies, or whatever, so that you could practice them as soon as possible. You see, the difference between a tutorial and an actual real world is that in the real world, you might follow the same steps in order to achieve something, but you would definitely hit these problems and hurdles where you have to sit down and genuinely problem solve for them. Once you do that, then it allows you to learn the topic a lot deeper and better. And the more mistakes that you make there, it helps you to learn more and more and more to the point where you become an expert in that topic or subject. Cool, now that we've learned why planning is important, let's move on to the second thing. Continue to the beginning. What I mean by that is you need to create a list for yourself of all the different topics that you're interested to learn. When I pick the topics that I really want to learn, I follow one simple rule. And the rule is, ideally what I'm learning needs to tick one of the following boxes. I only pick topics that I'm genuinely interested in. What I'm planning to learn will allow me to put myself in a better position career-wise, or it allows me to provide a better service for my clients or for my employer. And that's basically it. So with the end and the beginning out of the way, let's come back to the middle. So the middle is the actual learning part. Let's talk about finding content. And I could guarantee you that there are no shortages of any topics or tutorials out there right now. All it takes is a simple Google or YouTube search and you're good to go. You get access to a whole bunch of free and paid for high quality tutorials and education pieces to follow through with. My suggestion, however, is to always start with the quickest thing that you could follow through. So it being a Medium article or a few minutes of a YouTube video, just so that you could get an idea of what you're about to learn. That way you could find out about what you're actually learning and see if you still want to carry on and learn about that topic. Only then I would dedicate my time and money for different books and tutorials that I would purchase online for a higher quality and a deeper dive into that specific topic. So for example, you might be choosing to learn Figma or Sketch. Do a quick getting started tutorial in both tools and see which one suits your situation best, and then commit to it then. You also need to dedicate some time to actually studying. And I totally get it. People have lives outside of the work life. So you might have partners, pets, family, friends, and so many other things that could potentially need our attention on a daily basis. So my suggestion over here is to come up with a plan that's specifically tailored for your life. And I have a few different pointers that might be able to help you out there. You might want to get a good to-do app and write down what you're working on a daily basis, including weekends. Try to cover at least 2 weeks in advance, including all upcoming projects, work events, and other commitments. Take a note of when you wake up in the morning and when you go to sleep at night, and analyze how you spend your time at every hour of a day for a few days, including the weekends. This will give you a good understanding of where you might be able to fit in a couple of hours dedicated to self-development. With a source of content and materials that you discover during your research phase, list them down from the shortest to the longest length. and start with the shortest and work your way through. One thing that I do is to read a 10 to 15 minute article or watch a short YouTube video during my lunch breaks, and that gives me a high level understanding of the topic and gets me ready for the deeper dives. Approach the longer content by either doing a long marathon session during the weekend and get through the whole thing at once, or if you have plans over the weekend, you may want to make time for smaller 1 to 2 hour sessions and go through them bit by bit before starting your day or before you end your day, or anywhere in between, whatever that suits your life better. Now, the final topic that I want to talk about is do not burn yourself out. One thing about doing anything outside of the work hours is that if you're not really careful about managing your time between your life and work, it will burn you out at some point. In order to not get burnt out, you just need to manage your time and your expectations a little bit better. So here's a few pointers to help you out there. As much as possible, learn the things that you're most interested in. If you feel like you need a break, take the day off, but don't let there be a gap for more than 2 days in a row. Otherwise, you'll find it very difficult to go back to the topic and start again, and you might even forget stuff. Focus on one thing at a time rather than learning multiple things. That will just confuse your brain. Understand and mentally prepare for the fact that it will take you a little bit longer to truly master a topic, and that is totally okay. Just take your time. To stay motivated, always think of the bigger picture. The more you learn, the more services you can provide, the more valuable you become. I'm gonna end this by saying that I've been in the industry for over a decade now, and I've held every single role out there, all the way from a junior designer and all the way through to a head of design where I've hired my own team. And now I'm consulting for other companies. And one thing that I've realized is that no matter how much experience you have in this industry, you will always be a junior in some particular topic. So my only advice over here is that learn from others and help others to learn from you. And by helping others and getting help from others, you could just continuously better yourself throughout your career. Alright, so that's it for this video, and I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share, and all of that good stuff, and any of those actions will truly help me out. If you want to get in touch with me, reach out to me on Instagram or Twitter, or simply leave a comment down below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can, and I'll see you guys in the next one.